introduction to dependency property. So I'll be concentrating more on the practical use of a dependency property. Most of the newbies who have entered WPF might have heard of this term dependency property, but you would be surprised where and when it is being used. Generally, any control which you take, say this text box, the name, width, height, they are all dependency property. So what is a dependency property? In .NET we had before WPF introduction we had normal properties. We still have it. So the dependency property is on top of a normal property. There are some additional features which are built on it. A normal property we can bind a value, but a dependency property can notify when there is a change in value, or you can set some default values, or you can do some validation on it, or you can make a coherent value change. When some value is binded to it, you can tweak it to display a different value. So all that stuff. The whole WPF is built around dependency property. Any control you take in XAML, most of it are dependency properties to support binding, basically binding, and on top of it there are other features. So we will see it with the practical use. We have a control. I have created a WPF project. So this is a WPF user control project where I have a user control. So what does this user control have? It has a grid with a text block, a normal text block, where I have given a default value as test value. So I have built it and I have added it to the main WPF application. So this has a main window. What does this main window has? So it has a stack panel with a text box, some dummy text box, and along with that our user control is also below it. We'll run and see how it looks. The top text box belongs to the main window. The test value, whatever you see, belongs to the user control. Say some current requirement is you enter some value which should get updated in the user controls text block. How do we achieve it? Before WPF with .NET alone we had events and delegates. So we'll create an event in user control and we can call that, fire the event in the main window. When we enter some value, probably on text leave event or anywhere, we can call the event with this particular value what is being entered. So we can receive it in the user control and then we should manually set it to this text block. Is there a smart way to do it in WPF? The answer is dependency property. I'll go ahead and create a dependency property in our user control. Prop is used to create a normal property. Prop DP is used to create a dependency property. Since we are binding it to the text box, I'll make it a string. I'll leave it with my property itself. I am not much bothered now. If you see the dependency property.register method, the first is the name of the property. The second parameter is the data type, which is currently string. The third is where it belongs. Currently it belongs to user control 1. This property metadata, it takes many parameters, but the first one is mandatory, which is the default value. So I'll say is test value 1. We currently have test value. I just want to overwrite it and say that this is something different. So I'll say binding. The control name is my property. I'm going to the user control XAML window and binding it. Element name is user control. Yes, name is user control. So we have created a dependency property and binded it to a text blocks of the same control. So that from the main window we have a text box where some value is entered. Now we need to give it to the user control text block. How do we give it? This dependency property acts as a mediator. So my property is the name of our control, where we can give the value of that text box. We'll run and see how it works. As you can see, when I enter some value, it keeps getting reflected in the text block. So what did we do? I'll just summarize. The user control, I have created a dependency property and I have binded it to a text block, the same user control text block. So whenever this dependency property is updated, it will update the text property of this text block. Whenever we are updating this dependency property, we are updating it in the main window. When, not when, We are just hooking